Welcome, everybody. I am Bart Loeser, and I am your Continuing Education Program Director for our Toastmasters District 55's Continuing Education Program. These are fun, interesting, informative, and educational programs that will enhance what you're doing in Toastmasters and help take you in an exponential way to progress on your journey. Now, today, we have a panel of experts who will help you to get there from the start through the finish of how to make the most of your Pathways journey. So we do have our primary Toastmaster tonight who will be our moderator, and that is Veronica Valdivia. And so I want to welcome Veronica as our Toastmaster and moderator of the program and turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Bart, and thank you everyone for watching us and watching this panel on maximizing your Pathways journey. Pathways is something that I find that has really helped me during my time in Toastmasters. Has made my program more meaningful. If you don't believe me, I'm wearing a shirt about it, so just extra proof on it. But yeah, I'm excited to take you through the questions that we have ready. You know, a little bit about myself. My name is Veronica Valdivia, and like Bart mentioned, I will be your moderator for today. I am part of the Dell Master Speakers Club, where I've been a member for over 2 years now, and I am currently on my level 5 of the Innovative Planning Path. So almost done with it. Something that has definitely made my journey in Toastmasters much more meaningful has been Pathways. So I'm very excited that you get to learn more about it today and get to hear from our amazing panelists. So a little bit about our panelists. We have Eva Tweedy, Reed Stoddard, and Kandy Fritch. A little bit about Eva and Kandy. They're part of my club, so I have the luxury to give you a quick introduction on them. But Eva Tweedy, DTM, joined Toastmasters in the summer of 2016 and immediately fell in love with it. She is the current VP of Education of Dell Master Speakers, a corporate club, and is a past member of the Pathway support team. She has completed 2 paths, dynamic leadership and motivational strategies, and is starting her 3rd path, strategic relationships. Eva is a first-time area director for K-12 and cannot wait to take what she learns here today back to the club in her area. When she's not working on Toastmastering, you can find Eva curled up on her couch with her cat Jinxie, reading a good book or watching any of the many dancing shows or singing competition shows. Thank you, Eva, for joining us today. We also have Kandy. Kandy is a member of the current and current president of Dell Master Speakers, and served as VP of membership prior to her current term as president. Kandy found Dell Master Speakers while struggling with her career path at work. She was looking for something better and more rewarding than where she was, but really didn't know how to create something different. As part of her work toward making a change, a coworker recommended she go to a Toastmasters meeting to see if it might be helpful. She had such a great time and has been a member since June 2021. Since joining the club, she has achieved her goal of moving to a new role and is even now being challenged by her leader to really stretch the leadership and public speaking skills she has learned by asking her to facilitate various team events and even asking her to target a speaking opportunity in front of hundreds of employees in 2024. Thank you, Kandy, for also joining us. And now, not only do we have members from the Dell Master Speakers Club, but we also have the one and only Reed Stoddard. Reed, I have heard a lot about you and will love it. You know, I'll give you a chance to also get to introduce yourself really quick. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what clubs you're part of, as well as what paths. I've heard there's an S at the end of the path.
You probably also heard that you need a 2x4 to stop me from talking. This is okay. This is okay. I joined Toastmasters in 1997. I was an area governor. I was a division governor. I hosted TLIs. I coordinated TLIs. But that was the legacy system. That was plain old paper books and reading things and writing it down. You know, reading and writing is the basic things, the tenets you need other than arithmetic. Didn't do too well. I left Toastmasters 2002. I was overseas for 2.5 years in northern Iraq, and when I came back, different priorities, different things. But when I retired in 2014, there's something I wanted to do, and that is keep current. So 2017, I joined 2 different clubs. one I've been in the whole time. That's Arthur Storer Toastmasters. That's been around since Arthur passed, and it's my home club. I've been a member of as many as 5. I currently am a member of total of 3. And currently I'm the financial manager for the district, first time. I've been an officer, every officer except for VP PR. Somehow I've dodged that bullet because I'm not a graphics person or web person or email person. I did complete 2 paths. I did get my legacy DTM, and it's a matter of finishing that project, the HPL, in order to get my Pathways DTM. All of the other boxes have been checked off. I have done speech prep, but the passion of hearing about Pathways from an ambassador like Eva and going out and contacting clubs, and I go, here's her number. This is the person that knows about Pathways. And I delved in and had to learn more as a VPE, as a base camp manager, as a mentor for a dozen people. I have completed effective coaching. I have completed presentation mastery. And I currently am actively in 5 paths, 3 of which, well, all of them have got a level, well, 4 of them have got a level 3, and I've completed everything but 1 in the 2 and the 3 in order to award it to one of my clubs. It's been fun. Now that I'm no longer a VPE, a president, or a secretary, I'm finding it extremely difficult to assist my proteges because I can't go in and pull things like I used to as a base camp manager. That's more than you needed to know. But just the fact that I'm old doesn't mean I don't know about something that I have a passion for.
I love it. No, Reed, thank you so much for that introduction. And it's an honor. It is an honor to have someone that has seen Toastmasters since '97. That is amazing, and very nice meeting you. And I can't wait to get to hear some of the answers that, for some of the questions that I have ready for you. So thank you for joining us today. All right, so how this is gonna work is we are gonna have 4 rounds. So the first round is gonna be about what are pathways. Second round is gonna be a little bit more about the benefits of pathways. Third round is gonna be questions about how to get started with pathways. And then the last round, the panelists have never seen these questions before. It's really just a few questions, flash round, 1 word type of answers, supposed to go really quick and fun. And then at that point, we'll conclude our panel, but then we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions at any point, do please write it on the chat, and we can get back to those questions at the end of the panel session. So with that, we are going to get started with our first round. What are pathways? So for this first question, Reed, I'm going to start with you just because, wow, like I'm amazed. Like you've been in the club for so long, or not the club, Toastmasters for so long. You've seen what Toastmasters was before Pathways and after Pathways. And I wanted you to share a little bit about what is Pathways and what are some of the things about Pathways that you've seen that have improved from the last program? What are some of the advantages you see with these changes?
This is the legacy system. This is Pathways. The legacy system meant that you read through everything and developed how you wanted to learn, but it was targeted strictly at a leadership or strictly at a communication. The current breakdown of the 5 core competencies in Pathways enables people to select something they need right now and to forecast something they are going to want to do or need to do, like promotion within where they work, supervising, leading projects or teams. But if this is the 1-minute answer, I've given my answer. It is dramatically a better and improved method of learning, allowing full-time access on the internet and leveraged learning. Thank you, Veronica.
No, and that's an excellent point, Reed. Thank you so much for bringing. I loved that, like to physically see it. It's so true. Like Pathways, it's your phone basically. Like you don't have to read through a bunch of papers or even like a book to get to learn what your path is about. It's as easy as going on Toastmasters.com on your phone, going on Basecamp and logging in. And if you don't have access to your computer at the moment or you're busy, you can just watch the videos or watch read it from your phone anywhere. So thank you so much for sharing that, Reed. Eva, question for you. So you mentioned you completed 2 paths. Something that members feel about Pathways is that it can take a very long time to complete. Can you share with us how long did it take you to complete your last path? And what are some of the lessons you learned that could keep someone in track to complete their Pathways journey?
Well, Pathways is a longer program. You could do one of the traditional program, as Reed was saying, the paper version. You could have done a competent communicator in a year. It was 10 speeches. It was pretty basic. But Pathways is more in depth. It requires you to learn a lot more. It's less, let me just give a speech, and more, let me learn something. So my first path took me a little bit over 2.5, but the second one I did in a 1.5 years, which is pretty accelerated. I was on a very strict schedule of giving a speech once every 4 to 6 weeks. That is because for our club, we don't do anything closer than 4 weeks apart because we want to give opportunities for people to sign up. So I was there on the agenda like clockwork. I scheduled all of my speeches out. I had my checklist with me. And that's something that I would say is very important. You might have heard some of us were chatting a little bit about how, oh, all you have left is that HPL, but how long does it take to do an HPL, or how long does it take to do a DTM project? I planned ahead. I knew how long it would take, and I put it in my schedule so that I can meet my deadline. And I think that's very important when you're doing Pathways. It is up to you to manage your own program, but look ahead. Maybe you're doing dynamic leadership and it requires that you lead a team for 6 months. You don't want to know that when you're ready to give a speech. You want to know that 6 months prior. So look ahead, see what's going on, make a schedule, and hold yourself accountable. Take control of your own path.
Awesome response, Eva. And I agree with you 100%. I feel like that's what I do. I look at the agenda and I just sign up. Even if I don't know what my next project is, I sign up between those 4 to 6 weeks. Even when life gets busy, I still sign up and put my name on it, just so that I know that I have that project or that speech coming up. And it's not like, oh, when I feel like it. No, like I know that's coming. So thank you for that guidance. Kandy, question for you. Can you talk about level 1 of your path? How did you come up with that first speech topic and how do you prepare for it? It's the very first speech that you have to give.
So I can talk about it for sure. I have never been a person that's afraid to talk in front of the room. However, I knew that the idea of writing a speech and delivering that speech, no, my brain just says no. So I was a nervous wreck. My icebreaker speech, it took me a full week to cut it from like 15 minutes to where I talked really fast and barely made it under the 6-minute mark, right? And because it was icebreaker and I was new to the club, I engaged pretty quickly. I wanted to tell the club something about myself. I wanted to tell the club everything about myself. So it really was, and I would say this has been true for all of my speeches in level 1 and 2. I picked topics that I'm familiar with, but topics that were close to my heart, but I wanted to know more, right? So I had the opportunity to research and present data, and I had the opportunity for the feedback and revision, I had the opportunity to present a speech on something I was really passionate about, take that feedback and then refine it into something really amazing and do it again. And I loved that opportunity. So my first level 1, the speaking part itself, everyone said I did really good, but the preparation was so hard because I made it really hard, if that makes sense. But the idea of getting past that fear of needing it to be perfect, needing everything to be exactly what I wanted it to be, and realizing that I am surrounded by people that want to support me in my learning and want to support me in accomplishing my goals. That icebreaker speech was truly a breakthrough for me to realize that I was not alone and I did have the support I needed. And I am in love with our club.
No, thank you for sharing, Kandy. And I was there for that icebreaker. I remember you talking about your overseas experience, how you had been like in the military, how you had lived in Germany. And I remember that speech so well. And I remember how amazing you did. And that was the first time that we got to know you a little bit more about you, like I think you had been in the club for some time, or you had been like guest visiting for a few sessions, but who was Kandy? We didn't really know. So with that, like first icebreaker, I feel like we really got to know you, and we're so happy to now have you as our club's president. Thank you. All right. So with that, we are ready to go into our round 2, where we're going to talk about the benefits of pathways. Eva, I would like to start with you. What would you like to say to someone that's reluctant to get started with pathways? Can you share a little bit about your journey? What would inspire someone to get started with the program?
Well, I have to rein it in because my first response is do it. Let's go. Amazing. However, some people may have been on the traditional program for a long time and they are a little bit more change adverse. Some others, they don't care about getting credit. They just want to enjoy. To that, I say challenge yourself. I said in my last part that you have to take control of your own path. You have to take control of your own learning too. If you want to improve, if you want to develop any type of new skill, you have to actively do something about it. And Pathways is so amazing because it gives you opportunities to learn what we didn't have available to us before. You can go to a Dale Carnegie, you can go to an iSpeak, you can go to any type of speech training online that's going to be focused on exactly that. Training, public speaking. What about all the leadership experience that we get? And that is what's so cool about the Pathways program. I'm required to be a leader. I'm required to lead a team, host an event, get a 360 assessment. I'm also to learn about emotional intelligence, which I will be talking about in one of my other questions, so I don't want to spoil it yet. But that was one of my most surprising and eye-opening projects I've ever done. Having this opportunity to learn, and not just that one-sided public speaking, but the leadership, critical thinking, listening, developing others, working in a team. I get to coach people. I could go on and on. I know we're trying to keep it short so we can get through all these questions and help you with your questions, but come on. Why not do Pathways and then get credit for it and then get a DTM? Let's go. Okay, that's it. I'll stop there, but give me a ring after. We can talk all day.
No, that's an excellent point. And I love how you brought up Carnegie classes and videos, and there's LinkedIn Learning. Like there is material out there for you to learn. And I feel like that's what Pathways does, right? Like it consolidates all the material you need, not for just public speaking, not just for that path that you're on, but for leadership as well. So like to improve yourself, both as a public speaker and as a leader. Thank you for sharing that, Eva. Reed, coming back to you. Aside from the projects and learning modules, can you talk a little bit about Basecamp and how it's beneficial?
No, but I will. One of the things that Basecamp does is enables you to get into your pathway. For those that are dual members, it is extremely important when you're completing levels, projects, and you want it to be sent to that VPE of that club for approval and entry. My first step when I log into Toastmasters International is go to my profile. That gives me access to everything, including my Basecamp. And for those officers that also are Basecamp managers, they get to pick, is it about me or is it about someone else? Pathways enables those leaders to do that, work on their own, and not have all the side issues of 26 to 49 people, and work and do their own steps, their own processes. Realizing the Basecamp enables you to go to tutorials, enables you to receive evaluations and save them in a centralized place. It also enables you to look at or print out your transcript. If you're doing multiple paths, it is a great idea to remember that I did storytelling in that path, but not in this path. I pick an alternative to where I'm not doubling up sequential the same, especially in the same clubs, but I diversify. I'm wanting to get the input of different learning modalities, objectives, and working in projects, as well as working in personal improvement, as well as working as a mentor or in leadership. Each one of those, that Basecamp enables me to do that in a closed environment of tutorials, forms. Even when I'm evaluating someone else, I go into the forms and go, oh, that's in a path I've never done. Oh, here it is. Let me get that evaluation form, read through it, and be prepared to evaluate. Basecamp is that multi-tool that enables you to do a lot of different things. Thank you, Veronica.
One of the things Reed didn't mention it, but it's one of my favorite things that you can do in Basecamp. And as a member, you can go in and give someone feedback anytime you want. You could be in a meeting with someone and maybe it's one of your shy Toastmaster friends who doesn't speak up very often. And then they gave this amazing table topic today, but they might not have won best table topic. You can go in to Basecamp, go to their profile, give them some feedback, give them a badge that says courageous or amazing. Like, come on, it's so fun. So I just had to mention that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I had never used the badges, but I can imagine where was it that I can't remember where it was that you can give also like badges to people, and that's awesome that you don't have to like give the feedback just on the side or during the meeting, but even you can come back later and have a way to track that. And Reed, I was going to mention, I actually did not know that you could print your transcript. I think I had seen something in there, but I had never done it. And as I get ready to start my next path on strategic relationships, I'm definitely going to do that because I don't want to go back and have to like check level by level.
If you are in your transcript, make sure you're in transcript, not curriculum. If you're in your transcript, you just right click and print. It's normally no more than 2 pages. In other words, one printed page or a PDF, and it doesn't matter how many pages.
That's
something
awesome.
you can refer to, especially if you keep the headers, because that has a date on it and where you got it from.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's a nice tool to have.
That's
Thank
awesome. Thank you for sharing, Reed. Kandy, so in your introduction, you talked a little bit about, you joined Toastmasters because you wanted to be challenged at work. And there's this clear relationship between Toastmasters and your career, your professional development. So I wanted to ask you, how does Pathways and your daily life interact? Can you talk a little bit about a time that you had to work on a project that fit perfectly with one of the ones in your path?
I absolutely can. So I don't remember who said it, but I remember hearing someone on the leadership level within our district, I believe, make an off the cuff comment once that if you're going to do anything, see if it ties into Toastmasters. For just anything that you do, you have the opportunity to tie it into Toastmasters. And when I heard it, I was like, I should think about that. Very shortly after that, I was engaging in a conversation with my leadership's chief of staff and making a very strong pitch for why they should encourage leadership to join Toastmasters. And the short version of my pitch was, regardless of how much I love it, if I can sit here and tell you this leader says, so listen, repeatedly in a meeting, it shouldn't be that predictable. If I can tell you another leader says about every 6th word, I know that they're very intelligent, but they don't come off that way when they use that frequently. And I think we have a great opportunity. Anyway, this turned into becoming a big project to build the pitch, and it became a team effort to build the pitch. And it was an effort that I led to create the collateral to build the pitch that the chief of staff could then, it was intended to pitch to her leader, but it got pitched much higher. And it was incredibly successful. And as I started down this process, I was like, wait, don't I think I can do that. And at the time I was working my way through level 2. And when I went into base camp to look what my options were, I saw that one of my level 4 options was managing a project successfully. And I got so excited. I was like, wait, what did that lady say? I can do this, right? I can do whatever I want. So I just got really excited and changed because much like Eva, I am currently signed up for every speech through completion of my level 5, because if I don't sign up for them, I'll forget. So I went in and I changed what I did, and Eva did put it in chat as well. I did talk to Eva. She's our VPE. I was like, can I do this? Help me make sure I understand the criteria to know that that's what I could do. And the project was successful and I was able to do everything that I needed. I was going to another event I was going because I wanted to go. It sounded like fun. It was a networking event. Literally an hour before I walked in, I remembered that is an elective on my path. And I'm messaging Eva as I'm walking in. I'm like, wait, I think I'm supposed to have somebody sign something, but I don't have a way to print it. Can I take pictures to prove that I was really here and really did this? And so I now have everything I need to support myself with that project and speech as soon as I'm ready. So I find that if I keep in the back of my mind that everything I do likely has an opportunity to tie into one of my projects and pathways, all of a sudden it becomes much more manageable because I'm doing those things anyway.
Excellent points, Kandy. And I think so. Something that I would like to highlight from what you just said is you don't have to go level 1, project 1 to level 2, project 1 to level 3. You can skip around. If there is an elective, if there is something happening, I've done it. I don't think I've skipped around from level to level, but I have done it where if I have to give a presentation for work, I do it as one of my projects for Toastmasters if it fits with the project. And that way I get feedback from the people that are evaluating me. And then I get to do even a more awesome job when I get to present it on my work. But, to those of you that you feel like, oh, this is annoying because I have to go through a routine of level 1, 2, 3, you don't have to. You can just skip around depending on, just like Kandy said, depending on where you're at in life as well. So thank you for sharing, Kandy. I think
Absolutely.
Really good insights in there.
I hate to keep butting in, but I really want to say one more thing about that, because it is super amazing to be able to jump around, but you don't want to just do something and then say it counts for a project. You do want to do what Kandy did, and she's like, oh, I have this networking thing coming up. Let me quickly read about it and educate myself before I do it. So you don't want to do it retroactively. So that's why it's so important to stay on top of what's on your plan, because yes, we want you to get credit, but we don't want you to BS it. We want you to really learn and follow the program.
That's a good point. And I think for the last project I had was a project management project that I had to give. So I watched the videos. I went through the material of what I should do as a project manager, and I applied that into an actual project that I had to lead as a pro bono activity that I was doing. So you get to apply what you're learning into what you're doing, but then you want to make sure that whatever speech you're giving, it's also aligned with what the elective is about and what the project is about. Great point in there. Sounds good. So we are on our 3rd round, technically our last round before the flash round. So this round is more about how to get started. We've heard wonderful things about what are pathways, what are the benefits about pathways, and now you're probably thinking, how can I get started? I'm going to start with, before we jump into how can I get started, Kandy, quick question. How do you keep track of where you're at in your pathways journey? Something that I was just telling Reed is that I'm definitely going to print the transcript option because that will help me know what I've done so far. But in your case, how do you keep track of your progress?
So I print it.
Oh, she does it.
I really do. So I am a very tactile learner, and I like things that nudge me and remind me. So I actually print it and I keep it on the wall where I can see it. In addition, because I'm currently on 2 paths, so I have both paths printed and highlighted in different colors. Yes, I'm a nerd and I'm proud. So, path 1 is highlighted in pink. Path 2 is highlighted in green. And the reason I want to call this out, because signing up for my second path has been pretty recent. And I know that as I go through, there are certain required elements for each path, and then there are certain elective elements. So I went through the first path and I chose the things with my highlighter that I think, here's probably the elective I'm going to do. This sounds like a really good one for me, and I like that idea. When I signed up for my second path, I saw that something that I thought I would do as an elective on my first path is a requirement on my second path. And I was like, oh, wait, stop. Let me choose it. Much like Reed referenced earlier, right? I backed up. And because I had had some conversation with Eva about things I was going to do, I said, I'm going to put that speech on hold because I want to focus a little bit more on finishing my first path. But because I was so organized and I do print, and I think I'm actually printing the curriculum because it shows every single option that you have. So I can go through, and I have, for me, I actually have the dates that I have scheduled for every remaining speech to finish through level 5 on my first path, because organization is important to me. And by doing this, I have it at a fingertip. It's on a clip on my wall and so easy to get to. And it just makes that management so much easier. And it helps me know at like just a flash exactly what I want to know and where I'm at. And it helps me predict and be dynamic and change where I need to if all of a sudden I realize that an elective is about to become a required in my next path.
And yeah, thank you for sharing, Kandy. And I think something key here is that, we keep talking about being able to print things, being able to go to one place to gather this, being one. And I think that that's what Basecamp and Pathways does for you, consolidates everything so that you're able to print it, you're able to see where you're at in your journey. It's not just, like to Reed's initial point when he brought out the take package, it's not having to go back and forth in the book. It's a really innovative way to track your progress and track your learning, and then be able to go back and forth. So you're able to plan ahead as well.
Absolutely.
Eva, question for you. There are 11 paths to choose from, and sometimes it can be overwhelming decisions to choose the right path. Can you share some of your experience on how you chose your path?
I can. I did this very methodically because I'm not in 5 paths at the same time like Reed. I wanted to make sure I picked and choose exactly what I needed to do. I'm also the type of person for one path at a time. That's how I work. I book at a time. I try to binge watch shows. I prefer having that consistent so I know what I'm doing. When it came to picking my path, I looked at the catalog. If you're not familiar with it, you go on tmd55.org/pathways, you scroll down and you grab the catalog. It has 1-page summaries for every path available, and it has what's required and what's an elective. So you can quickly see at a glance, is that going to be a required path, or is it required project, or is it going to be an elective? And then you can actually click on each of those projects and get a small, it's not very large, a small description. So that's how I started. You can also get the assessment and you can do that. However, I don't believe what anyone else tells me to do. So the assessment, some sort of algorithm, and told me this is the path you should do. And I was like, I don't know you. What's your math? So I did it myself. And I use that assessment to back up my own claim, but they don't know what's in my life. So I did my own research. I looked at the catalog and I compared the paths that I wanted to do. When it came to my second and subsequent paths, I wanted to make sure I had as much diversity as possible. So there is actually a chart. It wasn't created by our district. It was created by a different district that compares all of these paths in one chart with what's required, not electives. Most of the electives are the same, but based on required paths, I crossed out everything I did on my first and looked for the column with that path that had the least amount of marks through it. So that's how I figured out what was going to be my second path and what was going to be my third. Also, I did look to see which paths required an HPL or a longer time commitment. because based on my schedule, and I just got my DTM in April. I was on schedule to get that DTM, which meant I had to finish by March. So I was doing this math 2 years ago to make sure I got my DTM in time to get it at this conference that we just had. Because of that, I had to pick a path that was able to be accomplished in that time. So that is how I did it. And I'm going to put those links for you into the chat.
Thank you, Eva. And I know that when I joined Toastmasters, you shared those links with me and they were super, super helpful, especially, well, the catalog gives you like a good introduction of the different paths that are out there. There's so many paths. They have like even like a path for comedy, I think. So if you want to get, funny, you can definitely go the comedy path. And I did the assessment. I do like assessment. So I remember doing the assessment. And the assessment was not, I don't think it was very accurate. I think it ended up giving me something that didn't, but it's a good starting point. Like it's a good starting point. If you're really like lost and like you don't know where to start, answer some questions on toastmasters.com and see what the site tells you. Reed, as you mentioned during your introduction, you are part of not one, but 5 different paths within Pathways. Could you please share about your experiences with this and how do you manage your projects across so many paths? I know that you already talked a little bit about it, but could you expand on it?
I completed my first path in my second year. I started my second path about 5 months after starting my first. It wasn't a race between the two, but I was working as a mentor and coaching clubs, and I wanted to go through effective coaching. But there's several projects that take 6-month commitments. Getting through the first section, which is about skill sets, the basics. Yes, I can do them. Yes, I've been doing them for 40 years. Not according to Pathways, but it's okay. Following that, giving an example and giving a speech. The other part is where you actually plan it, whatever that project or element is. So in the levels 3 and 4, you get into planning things. The last part is managing it, like being a VPE and managing the mentors and making sure that the proteges are assigned. Having 5 paths is easier than having 25 members that you're trying to track and coordinate and observe. At the same time, as an administrator, I had over 46 or 120 at different times, and there are tricks to doing that, but it's not part of Pathways. In Pathways, I worked certain levels in certain clubs. I did certain projects in certain clubs. During different times of years, we're focusing on self-improvement, like the first quarter, January, February, March. When we're getting near the end of our term as a club or district officer, we want to prove to ourselves that we were effective and we're ready or able to do more planning and executing. That's level 4. When you want to finish, whether it's the end of the year and it counts for your club, or 2 months into the new cycle and it counts for your club, are personal choices. It has nothing to do with the needs of the club. It has to do with what you're trying to accomplish as a Toastmaster. I'm the oldest of 9. If I can't manage 9 things at once, I've ruined it for my life. I haven't learned a thing. When you're getting into nieces, nephews, in-laws, outlaws, exes, and to-be fiancés with my grandson, there's a whole range of names, education, experience, last names. Being in Toastmasters keeps me in tune and doesn't let me nap. Doesn't make me write big, long lists that I can't read the next day. I've been in and out of different programs on my desktop, and I've learned to live without my Outlook calendar now for 4 months. I don't feel very effective at all. I want it back. I just haven't had the focus and concentration to do that instead of repairing my garage door or traveling to visit family. And family always comes first. No path, no club, no division position is going to change that in my life, because I choose that. And that's my character. Whether it's one of those paths for a specific purpose or not, family always comes first. Thank you, Veronica.
No, thank you, Reed. And that's awesome. I love it. I love it because it's not just, to your point, it's not just balancing 5 different paths. It's also balancing what's going on in the rest of your life. In your case, balancing of the nieces, the nephews, your family. So I think, Reed, you are proof that you can do it. You are proof that you can balance as many paths as you feel like it's fit, as long as, of course, like you are prioritizing your priorities in your life, whether it's your family, work, whatever it is. But it's doable. You definitely can. So thank you for sharing some of your experience with that, Reed. So with that, we're gonna go into our flash round. This is gonna be quick 1-word round. Basically, I'm gonna give you 1 question. You're gonna answer with 1 word. 1, that's it. Reed, I'm actually gonna start with you since you were my last person. So it is easy.
Do 1 word.
In 1 word, describe why you joined Toastmasters.
Maybe.
Oh, it's like now I want to know more, but okay, we'll leave it at that. Those are the rules. Kandy, 1 word. Why Toastmasters?
Fun.
Eva?
Networking.
Nice. Okay, next question. What is your favorite Toastmasters role? Kandy?
Table topics or topics master. You know I can talk.
1 word.
Topics master.
Technically, that's 2 words. Just kidding. That counts.
Topics
Eva.
master.
Oh, okay. We have 2 topics masters. Reed?
Toastmaster.
Ooh, you like to lead the meeting. I like it. Okay. Next question. What has been your favorite Pathways elective? Eva?
Emotional intelligence.
Ooh, that's a good one. Kandy?
All of them. All?
Reed? All?
Storytelling.
Oh, that's also a good one. Yeah, those are good ones. Okay, and the final question, free pass. You don't have to answer in 1 word, but try to keep it short to maybe 1 sentence. What advice would you give to someone who's trying to get started with Pathways? I'll start with Eva. You're like in front of me, so.
Okay. Just do it. I know that it can be scary sometimes to take a plunge, try something new. We have support structures. All the clubs have mentors, hopefully mentors, people in the club that you can go to. They are here to support you. Go ahead and do it. Don't let fear stop you, and become the best version of yourself that's possible. I know you can do it.
I love it. Reed?
If someone is tentative, if someone has crisis outside of Pathways, if someone is trying to overcome inertia, remind them they're part of a team. Remind them inside, outside, family, work, friends, community. You have individuals that will be supportive. They won't do it for you, but it's a team environment, and that sense of community or family, if they don't feel it, we're doing something wrong.
Love it. Kandy?
Eva kind of took the words out of my mouth. Just do it. You can let fear run your life and let fear stop you, or you can just jump, right? Because what I know from my own experience is as soon as I jumped, I realized how much support I had, touching on what Reed just said, right? We are all here to support each other, and we talk about it a lot, but you don't really feel it until you jump.
And you
And
know,
then it feels really
totally talking over you. I'm excited. You know, it's not just fear too. We say fear, but I wasn't afraid to speak in public at this point in my life when I joined Toastmasters. I just didn't think that I needed to devote that much time to my own development. I was trying to be a good employee and just do my job. And then I realized that you had to actually go out and develop yourself. Your boss is not going to develop you. I mean, he'll try maybe, or she might try maybe, but you have to do it. You have to take charge. And it might be fear you're overcoming. It might be that glass ceiling. It might be being noticed. It might just be trying to be a better person. Just do it.
I have a sticky note on my desk that says "Just do it." So I think Nike had something going when they came up with the logo. So thank you so much, Reed. Thank you, Kandy. Thank you, Eva, for joining this panel today. We are going to conclude our panelist questions, but we do have some extra time. We have about 8 minutes to answer some of the questions that the attendees may have. So I have not had a chance to go through the chat, maybe not very good on my moderation on my side, but let's see if there's any questions on the chat, or if you just want to go on mute and go ahead and ask them, please go ahead.
There are some questions in the chat. Perhaps Bart can read them out for us.
Certainly. Do I look at the very beginning? Because
No, just look at your.
I put in a few questions at the end that I'm very interested in, and I'm not seeing anything else in question format.
No, I was trying to
I'll
give you
look
an
through there, but
outline.
I'll ask the questions that I brought up. First of all, it can be either one of y'all. Would you recommend doing more than the 2 required electives that you can choose from of the 13 available in level 3? Because you can almost assign a speech you've written already to one of those levels or to one of those electives, which is a great way of, I haven't gone through it yet, but it would fit this elective. Would you recommend that we do more than 2? And I guess you've already answered this second question, which is, if I've already written this speech, do I need to read through the elective information?
So I will start with that. I see Reed might have a different opinion. I am a by the book type of person. I believe that you should get credit for things when required, but that you need to be smart about it. I don't suggest doing more in your elective for that one path. What I do suggest is opening a second path and going through there. But don't just go through your speeches and say, oh, I think this might qualify. Go through, learn something, and then take that speech. Perhaps you've written that speech, but you can actually make it better now that you have that knowledge. So yes, do it, but do it in another path so you can actually get credit that'll apply towards your path so you can get a DTM perhaps, but just make sure that you're learning and not just saying it's going to work.
So I would love to offer a perspective maybe a little bit different from Eva's, because I see Pathways as such an educational tool. And by that, I mean, when I watch the videos and I go through the material in there, it is thought-provoking for me. It puts me on a path to go out and learn more and do the research that I need to really complete the project to the highest level that I want to. So I think if you're looking through those electives and you're really there to learn, if you plan on taking additional paths, if your plan is to do a second or a third or a fifth, if you read path, and you want to do that, then it makes absolute sense to apply those electives to additional paths. But if you're really just committed to doing that one path and you don't know if you're going to sign up for a secondary or a third path, then you still have that learning opportunity. Take full advantage of it. Learn everything you can learn and give yourself that gift of taking advantage of the opportunity that's there. Again, if you're planning on multiple paths, then absolutely do it in a way that gets credit to you for your hard work. But if you're not planning on the path, then don't deny yourself the opportunity.
Good call out, Kandy. I'm just all about that credit. Get that DTM.
Get that DTM. Get that DTM.
Could I add one more thing?
Yep.
Yes, of course.
To this discussion? I have several paths, and so I can go between different ones. And so sometimes I have a speech that it's like, what path could I assign it to? But of course, what I always recommend to people is if you assign a speech you've already written to a certain path, you must read through that path to make certain, is that what you're going for? But also it may change how you deliver that speech by what the purpose is. But one of the things that you could also do is you can give the same speech many, many times. You could give them in other clubs. You could give them in the same club, although not at the, back to back, but also you're not going to give the speech the same way, the same time. So you could use it for one elective. You could use the same speech for another elective, but just slightly change the speech and improve it as you go, which is perfectly acceptable in Toastmasters. So never just speak once with a speech. You can actually use it many times. You're probably going to change it up a lot. So each time you do it, at least that's for me. I don't ever give the same speech twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Kandy, oh, sorry, Reed. I think you were talking. Are you on mute? Sorry, go
No,
ahead, Reed.
not talking. It's if you have a speech title or a project and you planned it and wrote it for level 2, there are the same themes in level 3 and 4, but from a different perspective. In other words, if you give a speech about planning and doing American Heart Association charity, you get the booth, you get the people, and it was successful. That's a skill about executing and doing it. Now, if you back up and say planning charities, and you have to recruit people and encourage them on 3 different event dates, different circumstance, similar preparedness, but you can't give the same speech because it's not the same objective.
Yeah.
It's about motivating individuals, encouraging, instilling certain plans to execute successfully, which you did personally, but now you're doing it for a team. Each one of those levels or core learning objectives, that's part of the reason I actually gave a speech for a level 2, but I was supposed to be interviewed and I interviewed them. Oops. I didn't meet the objective of that one, but I did for the other one that I was reading and got them mixed up. The next time I gave a speech was the correct pattern. I got to interview, I got to get interviewed, and I fulfilled 3 different projects, not planned, other than I read through them, met the objectives, and gave the speeches. It was fun, but when you only need 2 electives and you do 3, oh well. It's a learning, it's self-improvement. That's the objective, not the numbers. The suggested amount is the minimum to move forward in your self-paced advancement.
No, that's an excellent point, Reed. And I think the one that you mentioned about like using one situation and maybe doing like multiple speeches about it, I mean, it's not going to be the same speech, right? But you can use that same situation. Like I think Eva put on the chat lessons learned, and I had the exact same thing happen where I was doing a project management speech, and I think one of the electives was on lessons learned. But the goal of that one speech, you didn't have to share lessons learned. You just have to share about like what was your experience in managing the project. So I asked her, hey, can I do lessons learned, a different speech for lessons learned on the same project? And she was like, yeah, of course you can. That's a different elective. So I did want to get to one question that was on the chat. Bart, I think you asked this as well. I know you can achieve the highest member level in Toastmasters by finishing 2 paths, but there is more required than that to earn a DTM. What is that? And Eva, you've asked me to share, so I'm going to stop sharing right now. Sharing is yours.
All right. So just for those, now not everyone wants a DTM. We've talked about that. You don't need to have your Distinguished Toastmaster award. Some people like me live for it. This is it. I want that distinction. Give me that DTM after my name. So if you are trying to get a DTM, what you have to do is you complete 2 paths. Some paths may have an HPL in level 5, some do not. So make sure you look at what's required. 2 paths. And at the end of that second path, you do a Distinguished Toastmasters project. This is actually easier, in my opinion, than an actual HPL, for those of you familiar with the High Performance Leadership Project. The DTM project, I did mine in 2 months. It was not that intensive. It was really cool, and I can give you a lot of details on that. This is uploaded on TMD 55, so I can send you the link in chat. So you have to do 2 paths, and at the end of that second path, you do a Distinguished Toastmasters project. You also have to be a club officer, either 1 12-month term or 2 6-month term. You have to be a district officer, an area director, a finance manager, way back when, a Pathways guide. They don't have that anymore. You also have to be a club sponsor. So you helped form a club, Speechcraft, or youth leadership. I did Speechcraft. It's a really cool program, and that's the one I would suggest doing. And then you also have to be a club mentor or a club coach. Once you finish all of that, you can submit for your DTM. Then you can get a super cool necklace, get a plaque. It'll be, well, I put my medal as a necklace. and you could have that distinction. It's not required. DTM, less than 1% of all Toastmasters ever reach that level of distinction, which is why I wanted to do it. Again, I'm a little aggressive when it comes to getting awards.
Aggressive, committed.
Committed, passionate, obsessed, drank that Kool-Aid hardcore. So I'm putting this in the chat. I know that we are over, but I'm putting this link in the chat. It is on TMD 55. It's a very easy graphic, and the form to fill out is there too if you'd like to work off a paper copy and print it off.
That's awesome, Ellen. Thank you so much for sharing. I actually, I've seen DTM, and I didn't know what DTM was. So, or I do know what DTM was. I just didn't know how you got there. So thank you for sharing that. It definitely
It's a
is
long time.
Yeah, I can see that. So congratulations, Eva. I know you got yours very recently. So congratulations. You deserve it. So we are out of time. We are at 9:02. I think we can call it a day when it comes to panel pathways questions. But if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to Reed, Kandy, Eva, myself.
And I can say later if anyone has any questions.
If anybody has any more questions also, anybody?
I would just add that there's many ways to achieve the results you want. I realize Eva is the type of person who's very focused. She researches things. She stays on target. She's the opposite of me. I've given thousands of speeches, probably in Toastmasters and other places, gotten credit for maybe 100. So, as Eva would say, you should always get credit every time. It's like, I'm teaching all the time and I get credit for very, very few of them, because I'm wondering, well, I'm teaching this hour-long class for Toastmasters. What would it fit? But then again, I'm already teaching it, so then it's too late to research that. So it can be a challenge not knowing what your next project is going to be. I just have the projects, write the speech, deliver the speech, and then realize I could have gotten credit for that somewhere. But we're all different as Toastmasters, and we've got to find the best way for ourselves to get the results we want. So find your path, but it is your own unique journey. Get support from mentors, from the individuals who shared this. Thank you all for being a part of this panel, and thank you, Veronica, for moderating the panel. For those of you who want to know more about our continuing education programs that are available, you can always go to tmd55.org and look at either the calendar, which has some great events, or better yet, go to the continuing education program to find out what plans are coming up. Better yet, contact me and say, hey, I think we should have this program. Would you set that up and have it in your continuing education? The last thing is to know that most all these programs are recorded, and we will put them in our resource library so that this program will be available to anybody and everybody after today. It's been fun. Please check out our upcoming events. We've got a lot on how to write speeches. This does not have to be difficult. And how to deliver speeches, techniques, tools you can use, as well as all the various tools that are available to you to help you succeed in your Toastmasters journey. So thank you all, and I hope to see you again in another one of our continuing education classes or our officers trainings, our TLIs, which is Toastmasters Leadership Institute. So I hope to see you all again soon, and thank you very much for your time.